In this video, I'm going to show you type hinting, a useful way to help you always pass in the correct data types. If we define a method, I'm going to call it add things, and it's going to take two parameters, a and b, and it's going to return, if I could spell, return a plus b. So that's pretty straightforward. And if we try to print out the result of that method, it tells us it's expecting two parameters, a and b, and that any isn't very helpful, but we can still print out 3 and 4 and we'll get 7, and that all works as expected. If we try to pass in a list, we'll get 3 plus 4, 5, 6. Obviously that doesn't make much sense because there's no way to add an int in a list out of the box. So to help with this, you can use type hinting. So you put a colon after each of your parameters, and then you write the data type you're expecting those parameters to be. So here we've got two floats, and you can have an arrow pointing to the data type that this is going to return. So if you add two floats, you get a float. Now when I try to call the add thing method, it tells me that a is a float and b is a float, and the return type is also a float. So you can do, I don't know, 4 and 4, and we'll get 8 from that. And this isn't going to stop you from passing in a list. That still lets you do that, but it's warning you that this is a float. So a float is expected and you're passing a list. So that's still going to give the error, but it helps you a little bit. If you've got some more complicated data types you want to use, you need to have an import. So from that I'll say from typing import list. There's also dictionary you can import, but I'm not going to be showing that example. It's the same concepts. So if I define another method, this is going to be called add lists, and it's going to take list 1, and that's going to be of type list, and list 2 is also the same type. And I haven't written the logic yet, but it is going to be returning a list. So I'm going to loop through the list 2, and I've missed a T there, for item in list 2, and then we're going to add to list 1 each of the items, and then return list 1. And now if I go to print that out, if I have add lists, again it tells me that list 1 is a list and list 2 is also a list, and it returns a list. So here if I have 3, 4, 5 and 9, 8, 7, we're going to get those in that same order. I hope that's useful to someone.